Alrighty.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's AEPA webinar. My name is Kara Hart, and I represent the state of Connecticut on the board of the Association of Educational Purchasing Agencies, better known as AEPA. AEPA is a national purchasing cooperative made up of representatives from educational service agencies from 31 states, serving as the board of AEPA. Together, we conduct national bids on behalf of our members and extend those competitively awarded contracts to schools, municipalities, and nonprofits in all 50 states. By working together, we alleviate the burden of our customers having to go out to bid themselves. Our collective purchasing power allows us to secure significant savings through volume-based purchasing. AEPA currently has close to 80 awarded vendor partners across 30 categories, including turf, tracks, courts, instructional and school supplies, custodial supplies and maintenance products, cybersecurity solutions, and much more. Every year, we add additional categories. Our monthly webinar series is designed to provide timely, informative content to our customers while also increasing awareness of AEPA and the high-quality solutions offered by our vendor partners. In today's session, you'll hear from Maria Itzkos and Angela Saus from Tiny Eye, who will talk about special education staffing shortages, practical solutions for district leaders are using right now. We're going to leave time at the end for questions. So if you have any as we go along, please submit them through the chat. And this session is being recorded, and it'll be posted to the APA website if you want to revisit it later or share it with a colleague. So I will now pass it over to Maria and Angela.
Awesome. Thank you so much. As mentioned, my name is Maria Itzkos. I'm an account executive with Tiny Eye Therapy Services. I've also brought on one of our Tiny Eye SLPs today, Angela Sauce, and we're very excited to spend some time with you today. So first and foremost, I want to talk about some practical solutions district leaders are using right now in response to the special education staffing shortages we are seeing across the country. So today we'll kind of cover a few different items. We'll first go through 3 case studies that highlight how we are partnering with school districts and what solutions we are providing. We'll review exactly what services Tiny Eye offers, and you'll also get to see firsthand a look into our platform, Monarch. So if you're wondering who is Tiny Eye, what is Tiny Eye? Well, I'm excited to share that we are a global leader in providing special education services to K-12 districts. We partner with school districts to solve 2 main problems. We firstly ensure students get seen for the services they need to thrive, and we also ensure your on-site practitioners don't experience burnout from some massive caseloads. So why does this conversation matter? We see the persistent staffing shortages. We see the pressure being put on districts to serve larger caseloads with tighter budgets. And of course, we know that compliance can't wait. So let's jump into those 3 case studies and let's see how Tiny Eye has been keeping services moving without growing the budget. Our first case study focuses on seamless coverage for shortages and leaves. Life happens, and when districts are faced with unexpected leaves from their staff, we know that there is a gap in services for your students. So what does Tiny Eye do? We recruit and place qualified practitioners. We don't just place anyone. We speak with schools first to ensure that practitioners have the correct specialized experience to serve your school's unique caseload. We also work closely and act as an extension of your on-site team to ensure that full caseload coverage and continued IEP compliance without overburdening your existing staff. The impact? No disruption to student services, reduced strain on district teams, and consistent support during those shortages. Our second case study focuses on proactive budget and service optimization. Like I mentioned earlier, growing caseloads, tighter budgets. How do we ensure that we still provide high quality services to each and every student? Firstly, we optimize service delivery. We'll group students where it makes sense, such as students with similar goals. We'll also transition students who are close to accomplishing their goals to a consultative service. We'll conduct screenings before assessments for a more cost-effective intervention service. On the other hand, focusing on maximizing practitioner productivity, our practitioners know to substitute for another student if one is absent from their session so that no time is ever wasted. They also provide teacher and parent-ready resources for continued growth outside of sessions so that students achieve those goals sooner. The impact here: maximized service delivery within your budget, reduced wasted time, and consistent productive use of practitioner hours. Our last case study focuses on targeted intervention and early support. We want to reach students sooner before they need more intensive services. How do we do this? We screen first to ensure that intervention is appropriate before a formal assessment. We use goal-focused blocks to target those specific skill gaps. We reinforce both classroom and home strategies and support to further progress in between sessions. And we monitor and adjust services as needed to ensure students are transitioned out of intervention once appropriate. And of course, the impact here: fewer unnecessary assessments, faster student progress, and more students served within your existing budget. So what are effective leaders doing right now? They're covering those gaps, optimizing their spend, and intervening earlier with the help of TinyEye. So what exactly do we offer? We deliver speech-language pathology services, occupational therapy, mental health and counseling, that also includes social work, and school psychology. And just to ensure you're fully covered for everything that may come your students' way, we now also provide virtual school nurses and virtual special education teachers. And just to highlight, we do deliver services virtually, on-site, and hybrid. And regardless of the service delivery model for your school, you still have access to our platform Monarch. So let's actually hop over so you can see firsthand what a virtual session looks like. So give me 1 second here.
And while Maria is hopping into Monarch and getting that connection set, I will introduce myself. My name is Angela Sauce. As stated earlier, I am a current speech language pathologist with TinyEye. I have been a speech language pathologist for 28 years now. 18 of those years I was in brick and mortar schools in the Kansas City, Missouri area districts there. And for now going on 10 years, I have been providing services virtually with TinyEye. So what we're going to do now is kind of show you what our students experience when they log into TinyEye, if they're either working independently or working with a helper that you have sent with them to the TinyEye area, if they're working on their computer or if they're working on their laptop at the back of the classroom with a headset. There are lots of options for students to access TinyEye that work within your schedule and your budget needs. So I'm going to connect now. You'll see it's super easy for students and helpers to connect. The therapist, when it's time for a session to begin, will send a connection request through to your school and student, and all they have to do is click connect. And there we go. We can verify once we head into the calendar area where students can see that, okay, their video feed is working, my video feed is working, we can see each other, and we can now launch the therapy room. Each student or student group has their own unique therapy room, so we're not loading the same room over and over again, and that space is tied to their data and the collection of data that the therapist takes during their time together, so each room is individual. And I will hop right in so you can see what that looks like as we start a session. You can see that when a session starts, student and practitioner still see each other. They still got their video feed. If needed for our busy students or that are maybe distracted by that video camera, I can always toggle that on and off as needed. and turn it back on. You can see we have a big space that is for all of our digital materials, and we have a variety of materials and tools at our fingertips that we can move to back and forth as we need for our student session. And so with the click of a button, I can load different things. Of course, lots of our students really enjoy some of our video offerings. So we have the ability to load YouTube right here within the platform so that students that are using video content do not leave the platform. It's actually loaded right here. I'll pop that window in there. So like if my students may be getting right off the bus, I have some kindergartners coming in and I know they got the wiggles. So we're going to do some alligator chomp and we're going to do some actions and go through and I'll have them do this song. So I'll have the students will be up and down, moving up and down. It's okay that there may be a chair, but I absolutely encourage my students to stand up. I currently stand as I provide my services. So we'll go through a song. Maybe I have older students that I want to work on some video modeling, or maybe we're working on figurative language, and I can then load some different clips that I have saved from YouTube on figurative language in different television shows or movies. So the YouTube window is a favorite, and it's a great way to introduce content as well. And so if I've done my alligator song and my kiddos have got their wiggles out and now we're ready to maybe get down to some business, we're working on some speech sounds and maybe they would like to play a game. They've chosen the game that they want to play today. I can then just quickly switch right on over at the click of a button to a game that they've chosen. Since we did the alligator song, I'm going to go ahead and load the alligator game for them. And within our game, we have the ability to load all of our target cards and be able to get some trial scores while we're playing the game, just clicking back and forth. So here comes Crocodile, and Maria can be my student and click on some teeth, and I can click as well as the practitioner, as the therapist, so we can take turns back and forth. I have the ability on my side to control student mouse. So if I want the student to pause for a moment because we're going to do some work on, say, our K's and G's, I might say, okay, here we're going to practice some of our sounds. Let's do coin. I let the student practice. I can switch to different cards. I can have them practice multiple things that they need to, and then we can go right back to the game. So I can turn the mouse back on and Maria can continue playing. If we're in a student group, I can then load that again. I can pause, let the students take turns, go through some more trials, and then we can finish the game as needed. And we can load multiple games during the session. Now, this is a great one for the little ones, but let's say we have older students, we have games that range all the way from preschool all the way through high school, and we're continually adding to our game cabinet. So one of our favorites for the older students is going to be like Battleship. And so I'll keep my game set cards there. And so here's our Battleship game, and you can see that there is a space for their game cards to be loaded right there and they can practice. So before we take our turn, I'd have the students do their trials, make their sentences, talk about the different things, and then we can take our turns playing the game. So there you can see we have our variety of games. Another fantastic tool that we can switch to that is a favorite, especially for teaching different language concepts, practicing more carryover skills. This is another favorite that for our occupational therapy students as well is heading to the whiteboard. So here, the whiteboard, student and practitioner, we can draw as we need to and make marks. We can make pictures. We can talk about the different things, maybe play some different language-based games. So I can also, one of my favorite things to do is if we've been playing a game or maybe we're talking about specific concepts, I can load images right here or I can load my Google Slides right in here. It does take just a moment as I pull it up so I can be having a conversation with my student. So let's say they did something in our coloring book app and I say, okay, let's type a sentence. We're going to talk about what we did today. And so we can say that, let's see here, maybe I'm going to provide a model for my students. And we colored a farm picture today. So I've typed that, and then I can say, okay, Maria, you're my student. I want you to work on your typing. Here's our sentence. And I want you to type the same sentence that I did. This is a great tool for practitioners to put in pictures. They can make up stories. They can work on narrative development. They can work on their typing and their sequencing skills. They can draw pictures. And it's a great way for them to then carry over some of those skills into more, contextual things that work with the classroom and maybe more of their language that they're working on in the classroom. You can add pages to the whiteboard and create stories. So I know this is a favorite amongst our older students and our occupational therapists as well. Then one last tool that I really like to showcase is our access to the Giphy library. This is also a way to pull in additional kind of video-based content. So let's say, students are coming in and I know it's little Joey's birthday today, and so I can pull up a quick, birthday celebration as they're coming in. We'll say happy birthday to Joey, or it's a great way for us to target different language concepts and kind of show what these things look like. So I might say, okay, we've been talking about the dogs today, and I'd say, Maria, we've been practicing our action words. What do you want to see the dog do today?
I want to see the dog run.
All right, so on my side, I can type in real time, dog running or something like that, and I can quickly put in an example and we can talk about what the dog is doing. Oh, they're running. Or let's say maybe we're working on position and direction words, and so I can quickly look for different concepts that I want the student to practice, and I can ask, Maria, where is that dog? And we can practice our different concepts and work on under or over if they're jumping over. And so I really enjoy using the Giphy library. It's a favorite of the students to see if they can stump their practitioner and come up with the hardest thing. Sometimes it gets very creative, but that's a fun and socially acceptable and very real way to use some of this content. We also have other tools available. We do have share screen available to our students as well. So our practitioners can access things like their boom cards or the super duper digital library, and they can pull in content from outside resources as well with the share screen capabilities. Uh, that's just kind of a brief glimpse into our platform and the way that practitioners can switch back and forth. So I can click and I can go right back and forth to our whiteboard, or if we're back in the game, I can go back to our game window. And so I can move very seamlessly and quickly based on the student need and their intention, or maybe something's not working, so we need to switch gears. So it can be very, very student driven. And that's the idea, to keep our students as engaged in their therapy as possible. So does anybody have any questions or something that they would specifically like to see from the platform before we disconnect from that? Oh, Kara, I think you're muted.
I am. You're right. We did have one question about the platform. What technology requirements are needed on the district side?
Great question. So you need internet, obviously. Ethernet is preferred because it's going to be a more stable connection, but we do have a lot of students that are currently using Starlink, for example, because they're in remote areas. So wireless absolutely does work, and there's certainly lots of tips for maximizing that and getting the most out of bandwidth. But yes, wireless works as well. A desktop or laptop, Chromebooks work, iPads also work. We do have students that will access, with their tablets, and so Monarch works for all of those because it is web based. And so you log in via your secure login through the web based platform. So wherever you are, as long as you have internet, that's necessary, or that's how you connect. Headset is definitely helpful. It's not required. Certainly, if you are using a headset with a microphone, that's fantastic, especially in like the back of the classroom or the library or someplace. But we do have, for our younger students who maybe have sensory issues or don't like the headset, they're just in a quiet room and they use built-in microphone and speakers that way as well, and that works. We work with the student and with the school, with your IT department as needed to maximize your capabilities and help and offer tips and suggestions as we can to maximize that connection. But what's The most important things you have is the internet, some form of a device to connect, and then we work with the rest.
I also wanted to jump in and mention that if a school district is in a far to reach area or it may not have the greatest internet strength, our practitioners do also have the ability to view on their end which games require a larger bandwidth or a shorter bandwidth. So they're able to work as well with the internet strength that the school does have.
So just so you know, Maria, before this, you were super easy to hear, and right now that you're in this, it's very hard to hear you.
Let's jump back into, I'll stop sharing here.
A great example of how, as you add more things and you're doing more things on your connection, that that bandwidth starts to decrease. And so Zoom will definitely take some of the bandwidth to try and make the platform work better. So decreasing volume there should be better now.
Awesome. Are you able to hear me better now?
Much better. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, sometimes when we run a program within a program, things can get a little slower, as Angela said, but the great thing with TinyEye is it's able to work with any internet strength. So, and just kind of to end off our presentation today, I did just want to share, what I want to showcase today is TinyEye really is a true partnership, not just a vendor. We're quick to respond, willing to be creative, and committed to the work. And I did just want to open up the floor once more for any questions in regard to any of our presentation today.
Okay, there were a few questions that popped up that weren't specific to what Angela was showing. So, how do you recruit and retain your clinicians?
For sure. We have a whole team of talented acquisition specialists who meet and interview with every practitioner that we bring on team. We also provide ongoing training and support to all of our practitioners so that they're always up to speed on the newest strategies and resources within their profession as well.
And do districts have the ability to interview clinicians before they start working with you?
You bet. We understand, right, that they are truly becoming an extension of your team and they're working with your kiddos there. And we want to ensure that the school feels confident and comfortable as well. So absolutely, they may interview their practitioners before being aligned.
And aside from the technology piece, what kind of support is needed on site for the therapy sessions?
So Angela can feel free to jump in as well, but kind of from my understanding, depending on the student's age and ability, as long as they're able to get themselves in front of the computer at the school, the practitioners can really take it from there. They know what engages their students, they know how to keep a student focused and engaged, and they build that rapport with the students. So as Angela showed us earlier, for example, the dog and the puppies, like our practitioners get to know the students so they know exactly what is going to catch the student's eye and get that student's attention.
And we know that sometimes staffing shortages includes a difficult, hurdle to get a helper with every single student. So sometimes it's working creatively with the caseload. You've got your preschool and kindergarten students who are probably going to need someone to escort them from class or perhaps even help them with some of the technical aspects of getting logged into the computer and accessing the computer, but are otherwise kind of hands off. We know that schools don't want students to be just unsupervised in areas. So it's working with the team too. So if you've got a block of young students and you have a parent volunteer or a helper that maybe has a little bit of availability in their schedule, or an A+ student that can help escort and come down. We don't expect that the helper that comes with a student is doing everything. The idea with all of our games is that we help even teach mouse control for the student, help them practice that and gain some of the independence with the games. A lot of our games for our younger children are very simple cause and effect types of things, or we will utilize other tools to engage them physically, not just clicking with a mouse. For older students, as Maria said, if they are able to transition independently and be somewhere where they need to go if it's the library or if it's an annex in the office or it's the back of the classroom or maybe it's on a desk out just outside the classroom so that there is still some supervision, but nobody needs to be right there with them. There are a lot of creative ways to have some different help based on the student's budget and personnel availability. So.
Do parents or other family members have access to information through the system?
100%. We can give guardians access and their own login to our platform Monarch, and they're able to log in at any time and view their child's progress. As well at TinyEye, after each session, a session note is created, and that's available typically within 24 hours of that session, so that guardian can log in, not only see that their child was seen that day, but see exactly what was worked on with them.
And how do you address when you get pushback from parents or school teams who may feel hesitant about doing this virtually?
For sure. And you know what? I love that question because that means that the school teams and the parents, they care and they want to know what's happening. And what I like to say is Tiny Eye, we can always host a parent night. So that's where we can Zoom in virtually with the school as we are today, and they can meet with our practitioners. We can show the platform. If there's anything specific that the parents want answered, they're able to freely ask that so that they feel confident and comfortable that their child is receiving high quality services. Additionally, once services do begin, our practitioners can collaborate again with the on-site staff and the guardians directly, and they can provide resources, support, different things like this, again, to uh, provide that support for progress in between sessions.
How do you support compliance with IDEA and IEP requirements, and what types of reporting or documentation are you providing to the districts?
Great question. So we receive a variety of requests. Some schools just want their practitioner that they're partnering with to provide the service minutes, and that's it. Of course, like Maria said, there's access to the session notes login that is tied to each student, so each student has a session note with data from that session. But then we have other schools who want the full gamut of caseload responsibilities from we need you not only to, you're creating your session note, but we need you to put that session note into our state system for Medicaid billing or for documentation of minutes for the state. We need you to get into our IEP system because we need you to, case manage the students and set up the IEP meetings, communicate with the team, schedule with the parents, write the present levels, monitor goals and objectives in our IEP system. And so we can do any and all of that as little or as much as a school needs, again, being an extension of your team and using whatever your documentation methods are. So if you need reports that are sent to you, if you need the session notes sent to you in a secure manner, we can do that. If you need the practitioner to have access to your IEP system to enter information, we ask, of course, that we work with your team to get that practitioner access to your Medicaid system, to your IEP system so that they can learn it. We're very familiar with there being many IEP systems, anywhere from from SpedTrack to Cyrus and everything in between. So practitioners are used to seeing multiple systems, and we'll use them just as your in-house team does. And whatever you require and need for your services, we partner with you to make sure that practitioner knows what they can do to fill in those gaps, not just the service minutes, but also the IEP and paperwork compliance. It's very important as well.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. Do you have any final thoughts or nuggets you want to share?
That was everything I wanted to share today. I just want to give Angela space if she wanted to share anything.
I think we've covered most everything. Again, the important. I know there's a lot of pushback. There's still those questions about virtual, and assuring that it's not just a computer that the student is sitting in front of. We are live practitioners. We are connecting and reaching through that space. We have our practitioners are in the virtual space because they want to be here and they have chosen this way to deliver services. So they are, well vetted and dynamic and engaging and keeping the students engaged as well. But we are happy to work through any hesitation, meet with parents, meet with staff members, and show what we can do and collaborate in ways that meet your student and caseload needs.
On top
Right.
of that as well, Tiny Eye, we've been around. We just celebrated our 20th birthday this year. So one thing I always like to share is we've been around since before the COVID craze, and we've come across 99 problems and we've solved 100 of them. So we'd love to work with your school district team, and we're always happy to meet individually to talk about how we might be able to support your students in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time and expertise today, and thank you to everyone who joined us. If anyone has follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to your AEPA state representative. If you don't know who that is, you can visit our website at aepacoop.org and go under the contact section. Our next webinar will be held on June 17th and will feature Neuraline, who will present on why so many students still struggle to read. So we hope you'll join us for that and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.